makeup of man. I'm going to take a short version of it. I'm not going to go into the more advanced stuff. So essentially, man is spirit. Okay? What is spirit?
The absolute, the unmanifested absolute,
We like to say
or the spark of God.
the divine spark of God, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if spirit is the divine spark of God, then spirit must be unmanifested. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because God is above all manifestation. And since spirit is a part of God, a part of the absolute, you know, so that makes it unmanifested. Okay? So what does spirit do? Spirit performed the same thing that the absolute did at the beginning of creation. Spirit released a sound vibration called nata. And what is sound? What is nata? Nata is a supreme creative sound. And what it does, it manifested the thing that we know and call ourselves the soul. All right? So, with the sound came the signature of all things, like all the directives inside this supreme creative sound came all the express will of God. Was in this sound, which formed the soul. Okay? This sound right here, it formed the soul, because the soul is manifested. And with the manifestation of the soul, with the express will of God, the soul began to produce the directives of the spirit. Okay? So what does this tell you about the soul?
That is
The
control.
short terms that most people don't like to deal with. The soul has a beginning, right? So it must have what? An end. But the spirit does not. The spirit does not have a beginning or end. The spirit was always here, because it was always a part of the absolute. So the soul moves forward with its directives And then the soul, using its divine awareness of the spirit, it has a divine awareness of the spirit. The soul begins to follow the directives of the spirit in order to manifest vehicles of expression for itself. Because essentially, the soul is what? What do we call the soul? Anybody know? What do we say the soul purpose is?
It's a vehicle. It's a vehicle for the spirit.
Yeah, it's a vehicle for the spirit, right? In what? In what?
And it creates our consciousness.
In manifestation. The soul is a vehicle for the spirit in manifestation. So therefore, the soul has this supreme awareness about itself and about the spirit. So the soul moves forward and begin to create other vehicles of expression, because the soul realized the primary express will of God through spirit is to involve itself, is to bring about involution. So that once again, it can bring about evolution, right? So it goes through involution in order to produce evolution. All right, that's the will, that's the primary express will of God. So that's what the soul begins to do. So what the soul does, the soul realizes the shakti, which is all power in the universe. It realizes this shakti, right? This shakti power. And what it does, it gathers this shakti power in order to build the necessary bodies or bodies for its expression through involution and evolution. So of course we told you that in the shakti power, in the universal, because the shakti power is a universal power, right? We say that many times, right? It's a universal source of power, right? So in the shakti power has the karmic principles. I call them karmic principles.
Is the Shakti above will, emotion?
It's a part of it's the action part of the will.
Energy behind it. The energy behind the will.
Yeah, it's the express energy of the will.
And it's what powers mind? It's what powers mind?
Yes. Everything is Shakti. You're going to see in a minute. So these karmic principles of Shakti is, and to say in simple mind, and simple, is Shakti as mind. And I gave you this on the handout, you can see. It's Shakti as mind. It's Shakti as prana. Is Shakti as Jnana, which is wisdom. and the shakti as love or ananda. Okay? So those are the karmic principles of shakti. And these karmic principles create the necessary pressure or framework that shakti will work under. These are the divine karmic principles. And what it does, it creates the principle in which shakti will work in, the karmic principles. It's the pressure in which shakti will work in. Now, the soul realizes this, so the soul takes this shakti and push it down this thing we call Sushumna. Now we're dealing specifically with the human makeup, okay? Although there is a universal Sushumna, a cosmic Sushumna, there's a galactic Sushumna, and there's a solar Sushumna, and each living being has this Sushumna in it. But we're gonna deal with just the human makeup. So the Sushumna that we're talking about that we can locate in our own makeup, right, is the spinal column. Okay? Okay, in our own makeup, that's what we're talking about. Now, the spinal column is this Brahmic line of force that the soul gather this Shakti power and molds it and push it down this line of force, this Brahmic line of force, creating, let's say this is the crown, or the crown area, or the golden sphere, we can say. And it goes and it pushes this is Sushumna, and it pushes this Shakti, it gathers this Shakti and push it down Sushumna,
And
greatly restricting Sushumna now. Now Sushumna is this Brahmic line of force. So what does that tell you? Is the perfect vacuum. It's the perfect vacuum. Okay? You can understand what a vacuum is. Okay?
because it sucks all that energy down.
Is because it becomes pure. All the impurities is gone. It's not there. It's pure Shakti, it's a pure energy of God. Okay? It's this pure source. So it pushes this Shakti all the way down. And this Shakti is compressed by the three layers of Sushumna that this energy go down in. And it creates this great pressure and velocity in pushing it down.
As it pushes it down, does it, like, in a sense, filter mind, prana, vijnana, and love? That's why we have a limited consciousness to.
Well, I'm going to get to that. What it does, it takes the essence of all of this, untouched, and pushes it down, because it makes it a part. It becomes a vehicle of consciousness for the soul, because up to now the soul has no real vehicle of consciousness. Okay, it has no real vehicle of consciousness. It's above consciousness. It has this vast awareness of itself and the soul. But in order to bring about involution, it needs to bring about some states of consciousness. Okay? Now you gotta understand what this means. Consciousness is what? Anybody know the key word for consciousness? I give you the first letter is
Limitations.
Limitations. Consciousness is limitation. Okay? So this vast awareness that the soul has, it cannot truly go into a true state of involution. So it has to bring about different states of consciousness in order to bring about the limitations, because involution is bringing about limitation. All right? So what it does, it use the things that the absolute put here for us, which is the nadic state of energy or shakti, right? The nadi states of shakti. And shakti means energy, power, absolute power, really. So what is nadic? What does this nati or nadic mean? It means a flow of shakti or prana, depending on what state it's in. That's all nadi means. That means that the energy is flowing. Okay? So it knows the flow of this shakti. So it knows that the purest substance of this shakti is what? Sushumna. And that's where the soul resides. That's where the soul, that's why we want to push all the shakti back into Kundalini, into Sushumna, and raise Kundalini there. Why? Because when the shakti, not to get off the subject a little bit, but when this Kundalini power, which is shakti power, when it goes into the Sushumna, right, it is what? It becomes what? Anyone knows? Anyone knows? Huh? Just so you'll know. You know, it becomes sexless. Right? Because why? Why is that so? Anyone knows? You don't know? When the energy enters Sushumna, what is unique about the energy? What is unique about the nadis when it enters Sushumna?
Isn't it purified?
Huh?
Isn't it purified, or they're all combined?
They combine. So what it makes it?
Neither male
Huh?
nor female.
It's neither male or female. So you have a positive and a negative energy that combine to become one. So what that makes it? Sexless. It has no sex. It's pure soul then. And when it becomes pure soul, it is ready to do what? To be bathed in the light of the spirit.
Is that when it's entering Sushumna through the crown?
No.
To the basis.
From the base of the spine. From the base of the spine. Because why? When you draw all the energy back to the base of the spine, right, and you unravel Kundalini, then Kundalini moves up Sushumna. It can only enter Sushumna, right, in a purified state, right? So then therefore the positive and the negative have to combine to become one, because Sushumna is what? It's a balance of what?
Energy.
Of energies. So it becomes sexless. And that's one of the things that keeps us divided, because we're what? We're always in this male state or this female state. You know, we create this illusion of separation when really it's not. You know, there's no real separation. So what the soul does, the soul pushes this energy, this shakti energy down Sushumna in a pure state, and it brings it to the base of the spine. And what it does, the pressures of this particular chakra, right, the Muladhara, which is the base of the spine. It's the perfect space, it's a perfect place to tie up the Kundalini, all right? Or the shakti power, to tie the shakti power up and turn it into the shakti power is turned into Kundalini at this point. Okay? By the natural pressures at this particular stage. All right? So in the handout, I kind of go into that in this, so you can see. So what happens here is when it's turned into this, when it gets here, the shakti power is curled into a 3.5 knot, what they call. And the 3.5 knot builds Kundalini. And at that point, the shakti power is divided. Okay, it becomes divided. And from there, when the shakti power is divided, at that point, you get Ida, and Pingala. Ida is a negative flow of energy, and Pingala is a positive flow of energy. And this is what forms at the base of the spine. Now, what happens is the energy, when the energy is separated at this stage, the energy wants to go back to its natural state. It wants to go back at its natural state, and its natural state is combined. So what does it do? It begins to flow, and it moves in opposite directions to seek some type of equilibrium. And what it does, it goes to the sex center, it goes to the solar plexus center, it goes to the heart center, to the throat center, and it goes all the way up to what I call the Christ center, which some people call the third eye. Right? It goes through all these centers, looking to try to connect itself. All the major centers. It doesn't find that equilibrium until it reaches the Christ center, which is also the command center. And the Christ center gives it some type of equilibrium. But the equilibrium that it gives it is not bringing it together, but it kind of stabilizes it through creating a form of basic consciousness. All right? Now, not saying that our basic consciousness is at the Christ center, is not. Because the Kundalini is still operating from here, from the base chakra and the sex chakra. But what it does, it gives it, you know, it creates, it helps to create this thing called sight, right? Hearing, smelling, right? Taste, speech, right? That's like what it does when the pressure builds up after the nadis have traveled, have created 42,000 nadi pathways in order to try to create the balance that it needs. There's this tremendous pressure built up. 42,000 pathways the nadis have traveled to create this balance. So this right here is like a relief valve, in a sense. It creates this sensory perception to allow the nadis, and if you notice with this, right, you have what? You have two sources. All of this have two sources. All right? Think about it.
Like 2 eyes, 2 ears,
Yeah.
2
nostrils.
Yeah.
The tongue in the mouth. For
The
taste.
tongue in the mouth.
For both taste and speech.
Yeah. So the pressure that's built up, this tremendous release valve built up in order to relieve the pressure of the buildup of shakti power or kundalini power, which flows through the nadis.
What about touch?
Touch is the same thing. Touch is part of taste too.
Oh, yeah.
So this what creates the equilibrium. And then now the command center actually regulate this from the base and the sex center, right? And from all the centers really. But right now we got to deal with the base, sex, and solar. That's what it does. And of course, if you look at all of these relate back to here, to these three some type of way, and sometime before. You know, it all relates back. See, so if you look at even at sight, you know, sight relates to the sex center and the base of the spine center, really. Smell relates to the base of the spine center, you know. Taste relate to the sex center, and speech relates to the sex and the base of the spine center. Now, why do I say those things? Anyone can figure out why?
Speech is that it's consciousness.
It's a limitation. It's a limitation.
It's a limitation, but it's consciousness. It's consciousness, and it's sexual.
It's sexual.
Yeah. All atoms have that type of configuration, right?
You know.
Now, if all atoms have this type of configuration, what makes you or I or this table or piece of paper different? You know? What it is? They say that It's the electronic configuration of each atom that makes a difference, right? It's this right here and the atomic weight of this that makes it different. So what does that tell us? That tells us the same thing that the ancient people told us thousands of years ago, is the flow of energy. It makes everything different. It's how the energy flows, and that's the thing that makes everything different. It's the configuration of energy that makes you different from me different from something else. So what happens is that when this flow of energy moves up from Kundalini and tries to create the equilibrium, that balance, right? That goes through each one of these chakras. That's the thing that makes a difference. Now, also the yogis tell us that as this energy, as this divided energy moves up to the next chakra, the idol and the Pingala, it crosses each other. And this, and the intersection of these two negative and positive forces creates what the soul is looking for, which is what? Anyone knows?
The center of consciousness.
Consciousness. It's looking for consciousness. Okay? That's what the soul is looking for. The soul is looking for, so every time that Ida and Pingala intersects, a different level of consciousness is formed. Now, we look at the 6 and 7 major chakras only, right? But there's actually 108 intersections or chakras that these nadis go through on this journey of creating 242,000 nadi pathways. All right? So this is the thing that brings about consciousness. The movement of that energy creates a variety of different levels of consciousness. And that's how our makeup is made. Now, did I lose anybody? Nobody? Everybody understand so far? All right.
See if they online they say anything. Let's see if online they say anything.
Now, we now as the chakras, as the nadis go through the chakras and form these centers of consciousness, these centers of consciousness need to be put into operation, right? So what happens? Now that this auric envelope has been formed, because this is an auric envelope now. Now that the auric envelope has been formed by the nadis, right? You then the Kundalini, or the Kundalini is the vehicle of consciousness for the soul. Let's state that again. Did I say that earlier?
You said no.
Kundalini is the vehicle of consciousness for the soul. Okay? So now that the Kundalini have formed the nadis and intersect with the chakras, because the chakras, it did not form the chakras because the chakras was always there. All the different chakras was always there. Okay, so it didn't form the chakras. What it did, it passed through the chakras. Okay, that's what they actually passed through the chakras, creating the intersection in order to bring about a state of consciousness. All these chakras are vehicles or vortex centers. All of them are centers of consciousness, right? That the Kundalini have formed. So now you have this envelope, this auric envelope of consciousness, you know, you have this auric envelope of consciousness, okay? You have this auric envelope of consciousness, right? That's here. And in it, you have all the chakras. I'm only going to put so many, but we know we have 108, right? You know, and you have 242,000 nadi pathways. We have 108 chakras that these nadi pathways went through. All right? So now you have this envelope of consciousness. So what does the soul does through the Kundalini? It sends a sound vibration, right? That goes through these 242 nadis, right? And this sound vibration, what it does, it actually, the nata, or the sound vibration, is the trigger to turn everything on, all right? That's what it does, see? So what it does, when the sound vibration goes through the nadis, it actually places the life, this life form, or the consciousness of the soul, it turns it on, and all these different levels of consciousness become activated. So the thousands, the tens of thousands, the hundreds of thousands, the millions of molecules in the body is powered by the Kundalini, or the soul of the, by the soul through the power of Kundalini. And all these lower life forms that have came together to actually form this body now have life. All right? So that's a whole nother class going, but that's the higher part of it. But that's just to give you a picture of what's going on.
And that's all using Shakti power.
That's all using the Shakti power. So now the soul begins to live through all these billions, these millions or billions of cells or molecules that make up this body.
And when the soul ends, everything that was affiliated with that soul goes with it, right?
No, not necessarily. At one point, it has to go with it, but it's not going to do all at one time. No. But what happens now? The soul begins to once it sends this signal, and this is called the four aspects, right? Once the sound, the nata sound is it's actually four aspects of sound. And sound is what?
Consciousness.
It's consciousness. Okay, so it's four aspects of sound. So the Kundalini releases this sound vibration, this repetitive sound vibration, in order to keep this body alive as one unit. As one unit. So now, what is this repetitive sound vibration? It's funny because thousands of years ago, the yogis said that it repeats the sound 21,600 times
How many times we breathe it?
a day.
The Kundalini repeats this sound?
Yeah, the soul, which is through Kundalini. It repeats this sound 21,600 times a day, right? Now, the doctors, the physicians found out that we do what?
Breathe.
We breathe 21,600 times a day. Now, they said this thousands of years ago. They said this sound is repeated by the soul 21,600 times a day in order to keep life on the physical plane, in order to keep all the molecules of the body as one unit, as a vehicle for the soul, right? So we take 21,600 breaths a day in order to stay alive, right? So we know that there's a mantra connected to this, right? That the soul actually repeats. So when this happens, what it does, it kind of like it's a trigger to turn all of this on. It's a trigger to turn it on, right? So what?
When we breathe is a trigger?
Yeah, our breath is actually a mantra. Our breath is a mantra. It's a mantra.
The soul hum?
So what we do, we breathe, when we breathe in and out, that's the mantra of the soul. It's also the mantra of the body. It's the mantra of the mind too. All right? It's a mantra of the mind. So what we want to do, we want to understand that that's what's happening. All right, from the Kundalini. All right? The next thing is the soul in every level, on every level, like the first movement, the first movement is called a para movement, right? Where it's a soundless sound, all right? It's a soundless sound that the Kundalini makes. And then it goes to the next level, and the next level is called first movement, okay? It brings about first movement, right? Without going into Sanskrit terminology. The next sound is the sound that brings meaning, okay? The third level of the sound, or the third aspect of the sound, is a sound that brings meaning. And the fourth level of the sound is gross speech, or gross consciousness. Okay? Those are the four aspects of a sound. Para meaning,
Like thought.
hmm?
Para would be like thought.
Yeah, it's sort of like thought, yeah. It's unspoken sound. Okay? So this makes up consciousness. It's the triggering points of consciousness. It triggers consciousness, it locks man into the body. It locks man and animal into the body. Now, the meaning, this is the throat chakra. The operations of this take place in the throat chakra. The meaning, operation of this takes place in the heart chakra. And number the aspect 2 takes place in the solar plexus. And of course, this takes place in the base chakra. All right. Now, once this happens, the bodies are formed. Okay? The bodies are formed. The first body is of course we already have the auric body, right? Which the auric body is the auric envelope, right? Everybody understand that, right? All right, that's where everything. The next body is the mental bodies that we just talked about that was formed. And you have the etheric body, or bodies, right? Then you have the, I'm going to put this here, but understand that this intertwines with everything. You have the prana bodies, right? And then you have the astral bodies, and then you have the physical body. Now, after all of that, then that's where all the rest of this come in at. Right? Now, of course, the mental body is in all the bodies. Right, we understand that, right? The auric body is the background for all the bodies. And of course, the mental bodies is too, right? Okay, everybody can understand that, right? Now, this is so with the etheric body as well. and the prana body. All right? All of these bodies are like background operations, right? For everything. Because you need prana to have movement, right? Right? And the etheric bodies is really the body for the mental bodies. In other words, the higher mental bodies, like the superconscious state. So in all the chakras, you will find an etheric counterpart, in a sense. So you understand that. All right, you'll find an etheric aspect of that. In all the chakras, you'll find the operation of prana. In all the chakras. In all the chakras, you'll find an operation system of mental bodies. The mental bodies work in all the chakras, too, as well. Now, the astral bodies is actually a distortion on this earth. All right? So the astral bodies should have been etheric bodies, but it's an astral distortion. In other words, it's some type of karmic distortion that's brought about from our own actions. So the astral bodies you'll find only located in the lower chakras, all right? Because it marks that astral distortion of our own makeup. Now, the physical body, of course, you're only going to find on this physical plane, all right? Although this is a word that we play with, because actually all of these bodies are physical because they're in manifestation. They just operate on a different state of solids, okay? Because also in each one of the chakras, you have what? We have, in each one of the chakras, we have this cosmic element for solids, right? We have a cosmic element for what? Water, right? We have a cosmic element for fire. We have a cosmic element for air. We have a cosmic element for ether. So you cannot have anything in creation without using a combination of all of these things. All right? So on each plane, you have solid objects. On each plane, you have some type of watery base or liquid type objects. And fire, air, this is what makes up any one of these. So each one of them are physical planes, but their physical, their physical capacity relate to the level of operation that it's working on. All right? Even water has physical properties to it, and we know that, yeah.
As we go down the bodies from most subtle to most gross, does the shape of the bodies take on the more humanoid form?
Yeah, although there's a humanoid form in all of them. But it depends on what level of operation they want to work on. Because on the higher realms, they have head, arms, legs, a humanoid form, but they also have an ovoid shaped body too. On the higher realms, if they wanted to, they can take the body off and hang it up in the closet and operate in the auric envelope if they wish to. Mm-hmm. All right, so it just depends on what type of function they need to work. They might need to work, if they're doing something highly complex, they may not need the limitation of a physical body. They may like to use a ovoid shaped body because they can multitask at a greater level with that instead of putting themselves in a base physical body. So that's the difference. So So all the realms have this. I mean, all the different bodies is solid, water, fire, air, and ether. Okay. So understanding all of them are physical. Any questions so far?
How, I kind of can't see how the four, that creates that. How does the
How
four
does what?
aspects of sound create all the bodies?
Creates all the bodies.
That's what you said.
No, I said, well, this turns it on, and then the bodies begin to form.
Oh, that's what gives those life.
This brings consciousness to all those, it brings levels of consciousness to all of this. And because of the levels of consciousness that is created, then this have to be created in order to bring about the necessary balance of what we're trying to bring about. We're trying to bring about involution. So once we place a part of the sacred consciousness of the soul into this involved state of operations, right? Then compensation have to come about in order to balance the energies. So you have mental bodies, different levels of mental bodies is brought into place, etheric bodies, prana bodies, the astral bodies, and physical bodies. The astral body, because the astral bodies is unique to this earth. All right? So all those bodies are brought into play. All right? In order to balance the fact that the soul have released a part of its consciousness into these lower states of operation. So it needs a vehicle in order to express itself on all those levels. You understand?
So when we're moving Kundalini up from the base of the spine, up to Shumna, if it's that pure Shakti power moving, why is there still a danger of transferring some illness from the lower centers up to the higher centers?
Because you're taking the essence of that with you, in other words. You understand that?
Like we're not burning up anything in the lower centers before it's moved to the upper
Yeah,
center?
you are, but you're not gonna be able to burn up everything for karmic reasons.
Oh.
For karmic reasons, certain things have to be played out. You know, it's like when you're playing chess,
Mm-hmm.
it's like looking in time and looking in the future. Certain things you cannot avoid
Mm-hmm.
in time, right? Because why? Because of the level of operation that those things are working on. And there's nowhere in the world you can explain it to them. And therefore, they have to go through the motion. They have to go through the motion of doing what they got to do in order to come to that awareness. You know, you can place it out there 100 times before them, showing them the signs, telling them where to go, but they're not going to go to it until they go through a certain experience that bring them to the awareness, oh, I should not do that. I should turn left or turn right or go straight.
So Kundalini will not be able to be raised until all those experiences are met.
You know what I'm saying? You know, there's a threshold that you have to reach, each one of us have to reach in order to raise that power of Kundalini. Now, we're given a guidepost, but you're not going to be able to burn up all the samskaras, all the negative samskaras, you know, in order to raise Kundalini perfectly. You're not going to be able to do that in 1, 2, or 3 lives. It's just not going to happen. So that's why you have many, many lives of having to raise Kundalini, you know, until you bring about that purification, that pure level of purification. Okay, so that's, you know, so of course, and then also when you raise Kundalini, you leave, you have to leave a portion of energy or whatever in the body in order to keep the body alive. Although the body seemed to be dead, there's no more breath, the heart stopped beating, but there's a line of energy keeping, stopping rigor mortis from setting in the body. So the body's alive. So if the body's alive, the contamination is still there. Remember, this physical body is a fourth aspect, gross physical body with eons of contamination. And there's no other way to say it. So of course you risk moving that contamination from the lower parts of the bodies to the higher parts of the body if you have certain illnesses. You know, you risk that because the essence of that energy that kept the lower part of the body alive, now you're moving it from the lower part of the body to the higher part of the body. So of course you're going to risk that. You know, you're going to risk that. I'm saying the energy that's within the energy that's within the Sushumna, you have isolated that. But of course, everything has an auric envelope. You understand?
Yeah.
So the essence, they kept that auric envelope. They kept the all this, because all of this is placed. In other words, all of this sits inside the auric envelope. Now, there's an essence. Now, of course, in the middle, and when we talking about the Sushumna, is that what? I said that perfect vacuum of energy, right? Of course, the energy going through here is sacred and purified, right? But there's still energy out here and outside of the auric, outside in the auric envelope that's not necessarily purified. See, and that's why I think that's one of the reasons why you see that the cosmic masters, they have no aura. You know, because why? They pulled it in. Not only they pulled it in, but they refuse to contaminate, or be contaminated. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's why that's one reason why the magnetic suit that they have, most people reported them having when you see them visiting here in a full aspect, or not a full aspect, but let's say a full third aspect. You know, when they come down in the physical, they have this magnetic suit. What is this magnetic suit doing? This magnetic suit, because most people who described it, who met them, they said that there was no zippers, there was no pockets. It seemed like it was poured over them, mm-hmm. Right? What is that? That's some type of biochemical barrier, so that they will not be contaminated from this gray substance that's everywhere around us. You know, this gray auric or astral type substance that's all around us. So that's what, even the cosmic masters have to guard themselves against that.
And then when it's able to reach the throat, that purifies all those aeons of impurity?
In order to the energy that we push through the throat center is the center of purification. And yes, it purifies consciousness, and to allow consciousness to enter into the Christ, so that we what? So that we can see through Ajna, or the Christ center, okay? And then we become like a Jesus. A Jesus on earth, not a Jesus anymore. But that's what that does.
Like you said, when we're doing mantra.
Mhm.
If we say it out loud, it's on the physical. Goes from, if we whisper it, it's on the mental, and if we say it in ourselves, in our mind, we're doing it on the psychic level.
Yeah.
And now when we're breathing, that mantra, we're saying it on the physical. When we're doing pranayama and holding our breath, we're transferring it to a mental or psychic plane.
To the psychic plane, yeah. Because one of the reasons why you hold your breath is for what? Anybody know?
To achieve stillness.
Isn't that where the rays of Kundalini happens when you hold it?
Yeah, you're stimulating Kundalini. That's why you hold your breath. You hold your breath to increase the power of Kundalini in the body. And the more you become, the longer you can hold your breath, the greater flow of the subtle power called Kundalini can enter the body or increases activity in the body.
To keep the body alive?
To get you to that higher state of consciousness. See, that's what you want to do. You want to move to a higher state of consciousness. So that's why the breathing practices, that's why the retain of breath is that's triggering, that's a trigger mechanism to bring it to open the door to Kundalini, to have Kundalini rise. So once you go into, once you be able to control the breath, right? Because when you control the breath, what happens? You lose so-called physical consciousness if you stop breathing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what happens? The Kundalini takes its place in the deep states of contemplation and meditation. And now you're not breathing anymore. The heart stops, but the etheric and the auric body puts that body into a state. It puts the physical and the astral bodies into a state of some type of hibernated state to allow you to experience the superconscious levels. And that's that's the whole goal of pranayama, Raja Yoga, Kundalini Yoga.
I know, correct me if I'm wrong, it's exhaling is involution and inhaling is evolution.
What made you say that?
Well, I'm picturing as the absolute is inevolving, it's sending itself out, then that's the involutionary process.
Yeah, but we don't want to talk about that with self-development.
Okay.
That's just an analogy for describing creation. All right? Because God exhaled, and in other words, that's something they use, which I don't like really using, but a sect of the Hindus used that, said that God exhaled and creation came about, and he inhaled, and in his inhale, evolution begins, or something like that. So involution and evolution, involution to exhale, and evolution to inhale. So, but that's just symbology.
But I was asking, in the sense of pranayama, is it better to hold the breath outside the lungs or inside the lungs?
You're trained to do both.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't you take the class I did in breathing?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're trained to do both.
Mm-hmm.
You're trained to do both. So in doing both, you, let's say if you can inhale, right, and then hold breath, and then exhale, right? But the more advanced breath is to exhale and then hold breath. You see, that's when you get to the advanced side. But in the beginning, they have you to inhale, hold breath, then exhale. But the advanced practice is, well, you inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, exhale completely, hold breath. But that's that's more the advanced practices. And that's where you bring about the mystic states. And then you get to the point where you can hold your breath for, statistically, they say you're gonna hold your breath for 5 minutes, but then you get to the point where you can hold your breath for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and go into an hour. And, in fact, some of the yogi schools, some of the advanced yoga schools, you can't hold your breath for 3 hours, you can't get in. You gotta be able to hold your breath for 3 hours to allow them to enter the school. So everybody understand so far?
Yes. I think I have a question. Okay. Mike wants to know, I'm not sure if I understand the question. Where can I find a frequency chart with all specific frequencies and their geometric relations?
Frequency chart. What type of frequency chart? For sound?
I think so.
I have no idea.
The electromagnetic spectrum?
Huh?
The electromagnetic?
I don't know if they have that right. He can check that. But I don't know if he have that necessarily. I don't know if they have that right.
That's the only question I had online.
It's very little studies been did on that or been released to the public. You know that, right? Although they've been studying the geometrical sound waves since the late 1800s,
Mm-hmm.
but it's very little been actually written on it and released to the public that I know of. But back in the day, back in the early 1800s, the late 1800s, early 1900s, they had a lot of information on it. So that's what he would have to actually go and study. He would actually have to go study that time period when they were excited about the fact that every sound has a specific shape to it.
A tough question I had, but when we were looking at, how the spirit involved itself,
Mm-hmm.
all the way down. And then, I could look at this chart and I could intellectually see, how how the flow of that involution happened. But through contemplation, how does one realize this
Mm-hmm.
through contemplation? Because this is just like a symbolic representation.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, the reality of it, in front of us,
Mm-hmm.
how does it reflect all this?
Well, like I said, it's a box that we put ourselves in, In order for us to receive new information, it has to relate to something, all right? And that's the box that we put ourselves in. So by me giving you this and trying to bring you to some type of intellectual understanding, then that will allow you to recognize parts of yourself that you necessarily did not recognize before, if you accept the information I've given to you. If you don't, then you may go a couple more lives, searching for it. But mostly the box that we put ourselves, the mental limitation that we have placed ourselves in is that we need, in order to understand something, I have to say something related to your life experience in order to have you to begin to understand it, And that will take you to the next step, to the next question, to the next understanding. Until you leave understanding and go into a belief system. When you believe something, then your actions begin to curve, right? Then the belief system takes you into a state of knowledge, because the belief system creates the action creates experience creates knowledge, and then that knowledge takes you into a state of wisdom, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what we have to go through. We have to go from understanding something to believing it. The belief creates action. The action creates experience. The experience creates knowledge, and then eventually the knowledge creates wisdom, because now you have lived that and you have became that. So now you know that, and knowing that brings about a state of wisdom, right? And guess what? In your understanding of something, you lose all your understanding in order to go into a belief system. In your belief system, you lose all your belief system in order to go into a state of knowledge. Because guess what? When you begin to understand something, you understand it to a point where it turns into a belief system. But your understanding of it, you have to shed yourself of that. You have to throw it all away. And now you believe it. So now when you believe it, you begin to act upon it. But when you begin to act upon it, you realize that your belief was flawed. You realize that the action of doing that is much more than what your belief system, that you accepted as a belief. You begin to see all the perfection of it and all the flaws of it. You begin to see the reality of it, right? And then that reality is shattered. Because why? After many, many years of experience, you come to a state of knowledge. And your experience creates a whole different set of belief systems in the knowledge and raw experience. And then that experience and the knowledge, by the time you get to the state of wisdom, all that is shattered too. And now you go into a state of wisdom because you know. Because you have lived that. You have been a part of it. So that's the difference. And you can see that in just in a raw state of understanding. Go talk to your grandmother or grandfather and ask them about things that you are facing right now. Be bold enough to ask them. And you will see them give you wisdom that you cannot understand. And you think, oh, they flawed because of, because they old and demented. But 10, 20 years later, you'll say, my God, what great wisdom they gave me, and I couldn't understand it. Because why? Because at the state that they're in, they done lived that life. They can see the silver lining of it. And they can tell you in a few words what you need to do without going into great detail. They can say, oh no, that's not the right way for you. This is the way, and you can't see it. You cannot see it. You cannot see it at all. There was just one person, a member of the Theory Society, and he was an actor. He was an actor, and at one function one day, he was playing around with staff and the members or whatever, and he was marking, just not in a playful way, acting like Dr. King or saying some things that Dr. King said. And it was so funny, everybody was laughing about it. So one of the staff members went back and told Dr. King what he was doing, and Dr. King said, oh, he shouldn't be practicing my character. He should be trying to be a cab driver. And he shut it off there and left it alone, right? And the staff member said, what in the world Dr. King talking about? But that's where wisdom gets you. 10 years later, he got a major role in a movie as a cab driver. And if you notice, your grandparents have that wisdom about themselves too. They can tell you, they can predict things about you that you can't see in yourself. Because why? Number one, they're connected to you, and number two, they done live a particular life where they can see the signs of times far better than what you can. So of course, this may seem crude and rude, and unshaped in your mind, but through practice, you will see and feel and understand these things. As complex as it may be, or uncomplex as it may be, you will begin to see and feel them, and you will know. And because you have did the intake of information, you'll have a better pathway to travel, And I really didn't get into this because we're running out of time. but maybe I'll go over the next class where we talk about the flow of energy and how this energy is the speed of the energy is slowed down in order to create the physical bodies. The energies when the auric envelope move at tremendous speed and creates a tremendous level of intelligence, and how the granty knots slow down that energy in order to quickly fasten us into the body. And not only the granty knots, but even the chakras. The configuration of the nadis is all a configuration as we move up. As it enters each chakra, they call it the nadi knot. It goes into a knot as it goes into each chakra. And it's done that way in order to tie us, to actually tie us into the body, to bring about this state of consciousness. So if we were studying the nadis, instead of calling this a chakra, we'll call it a nadi knot. You know, the sex center is a nadi knot.
Mm-hmm.
The solar plexus center is a nadi knot because the nadis go there and it ties a knot. And when it ties a knot, it slows down the energy, right? In order to bring about this limited perception that we deal with, you know.
Is that what creates the realms also?
No, the realms are already created. Remember I said the chakras already exist.
Portals into the.
Yeah, that's you know, that exists already. Only thing we're doing is tying our consciousness to those realms.
Bringing our consciousness to that level.
To that level. And there's a knot that's there. There's an energy configuration called a nadi knot that's on each one. And that binds us to, you know, in this body, in this auric envelope for eons. You know, we're bind in this auric envelope for many centuries. You know, hundreds of thousands of centuries, millions of centuries. And then after all that happened, there's something called a granty knot. And that granty knot ties us even more. We have 3 granty knots that we know of. And that's Rucha, Vishnu, and Brahma. This is Rucha, and this is Vishnu, and those 2 is Brahma. And the Brahma granty knot, the Vishnu granty knot, and the Rucha granty knot. And that ties us to the body too. Now, as we move forward to raise the only thing that can untie those knots and give us tremendous wisdom and knowledge and insight, right, is by fully raising the power of Kundalini. Push all the power of Kundalini into that particular chakra, and you untie the knot.
Through the Brahmanati?
No, yeah, through Shushana, or the Brahmanati, which is the inner core of Shushana, and you come up and you untie the knot here. And when you get to the sex center, you have untied the first granty knot. You untie each knot in the nadi, in the chakra, in the nadi knot, and then you have to untie the granty knot. Then you go to the next one, you untie the solar plexus knot, you have to untie the heart chakra knot, and you have to untie the granty knot that binds these 2 chakras together. And then you become an adept. You know, but that's that's something, take a whole class to go through all of that.
Can you leave the granty knot untied when you bring Kundalini back down?
No,
or you're going
you
to tie
have
back
to-
up again?
You have to tie everything back. But you have you can untie it at any minute, at any time. You know, once you become an adept or a master to the level in which you have got.
So at which point, when Shakti is going down Sushumna, is Maya, where is that created?
At the base of the chakra.
At the base of the spine?
When When the shakti becomes not whole, that's when you have Maya. Because in order to bring about limited consciousness, you have to bring about the illusion of the separation.
So this illusion is only in the base chakra?
It's everywhere, because what happens? The nadis go everywhere, right?
Hmm.
The nadis go on all the realms. So it blinds you on all the realms.
And the only way to unblind you per se is to go through purification.
Just go
The
through
throat.
that purification and to take control over the Kundalini power and open each chakra. And that's how you bring about the higher states of consciousness.
There's people who talk about being able to see the aura of other people. Are they really looking at the aura, or are they looking at astral bodies?
Being able to see the aura,
Yeah.
there's many aspects of the aura. People can see the aura. They can see the aura. A lot of people can see the aura. But there's many aspects of the aura. See, there's lower aspects of the aura that you can see, and there's higher aspects of the aura that you can see. You know, there's many, many different aspects of the aura. You know, each one of these bodies have an aura to it. You know, and you have hundreds of astral bodies, and you have thousands of different pranic configurations within within all the bodies. And you have hundreds of etheric bodies too.
So thousands of layers to the aura.
Yeah, there's thousands.
That's where the 7, 14, 21,
Hmm?
hundreds of millions come from.
The what?
The 7, the 14, the 21. When you're adding 1 and 1, that's where you get all those.
Well, you got many, many levels.
Mhm.
It's kind of hard to explain, but you got many, many levels. You know, and because you have many, many different energy configurations. So I mean, there's there's a great difference.
So all those bodies across all those realms is what's pulled into Sushumna to raise Kundalini.
The energy, yeah.
The energy of all.
The energy makes up all of those bodies, yeah. Because it's not saying that you have hundreds of bodies within one body. I'm not saying that.
Right.
I'm saying that, let's say if you had to go to one of the lower astral realms, right? Your astral body is capable you are capable of projecting the astral body that can meet the density and the qualifications, to enter that particular realm. So that astral portion of the astral body will condense itself and configure itself in order to enter that realm. And also, if you had to go to another realm, then you have to project another aspect of the astral body in order to go there. You know,
Mhm.
or let's say if the astral body had to go to a place where the astral body only can only get there by being 10 inches high, then you project an astral body that's 10 inches high.
Mhm.
In other words, so that means you have many, many different bodies and many, many different configurations. If the astral body had to go down into the depths of the water, and the pressures if the pressure there, if the physical pressure is on the physical plane, of course the physical pressure is on the astral plane too.
Right.
So you have to build an astral body that can withstand those type of pressures in order to go down. Like the same thing with the etheric body. See, so that's what I'm talking about. So you have many, many different bodies,
That we can
different
construct
states of
depending on what we
operation.
need to do.
Hmm?
That we can construct
Yeah.
different type of bodies depending on what we
Yeah.
can accomplish.
But the fact that you can construct it, it exists.
Mhm.
So you have to
Right.
give it, so instead of just saying the astral body, the correct way would say the astral bodies,
Yeah.
and that's what I mean by that.
Can you construct
Same
another?
thing.
Could you build another physical body as well? Could you build another physical body, or would you?
Yeah, if you get to the level of advancement, yeah, you can do it. You can
I
build
think in the book by
Autobiography of a yogi.
yeah, like there's a master who
Had
can
two
be
bodies.
in two places at once.
Mhm.
So those are physical bodies, not astral bodies.
No, not necessarily. I think in that one he was talking about some type of astral etheric body that master was able to do. He was able to project his body and actually materialize it, and sit down, communicate with you, you know, and be there. I mean, I seen that happen in my life at the time, you know. So people can people can do that, you know. To what extent? I know not only me but several members of my family. We witnessed our father do that. He was far away from us, and he just appeared out of thin air, and and solid as ever, you know. And when he finished rebuking us, he disappeared. The same way he came out of thin air, he went back into thin air. So it's possible that people can do that, you know.
So it felt solid, but it was actually astral.
Yeah, I mean, the astral body can solidify itself. The etheric body can solidify itself, you know. The etheric body is a more advanced type of projection than the astral projection. But yes, they can will their body to a physical level. Like I said, all the bodies on each realm have this, and it's just the state of operation that they want to operate from, you know. So you know, if they wanted to create a water type body, they can create a water type body. They want to create a fire type body, they can create, if they have the necessary concentration, contemplative, meditative abilities to do that.
So have to pull in the necessary prana to configure their body
Yeah.
in that way.
Yeah.
A question, Marisha has a question. Do you have to give Kundalini psychic instruction or mantra sound to untie knots, or does it do it automatically?
There's a series of pranayama exercise. Pranayama, see, the key and the secret of pranayama exercise, which most people don't realize, which I said earlier, breath is a mantra. Okay, with the proper visualization and pranayama exercises, along with mantra, right, and along with many hours of concentration, you can move Kundalini. Remember, Kundalini is only your consciousness. You have no consciousness, you have no movement without Kundalini. So right now, you are using Kundalini in order to understand me, in order to speak, in order to move, in order to do everything. So what you want to do, you want to take this Kundalini power and focus it and move it down one channel in order to raise that Kundalini power to a higher state of operation. So what you do in Kundalini yoga, you throw everything at it in order to move it, in order to isolate it, and then move it where you want to move it. So it's through mental visualization, deep breathing, retention of breath, and several forms of mantra. I'm not going to give specifics for it. And that's how you move Kundalini. So, I don't know what you mean by psychic. What you mean by it? Actually, did I answer a question? Because I don't know what you meant by psychic.
I think she meant it. Is there like if you need to do something psychically to untie those knots? That's what she said.
Well,
Is you have to tell Kundalini to untie the knots already?
no, you will it to happen, but you will it to happen. But I mean, a state of contemplation is psychic consciousness. That's what they're talking about. Concentration, a state of deep concentration is basic psychic ability. and contemplation is psychic consciousness. Meditation is the highest state of psychic consciousness. So, in meditation, you become aware of the vehicle of consciousness called Kundalini. You realize that that's you. So you are Kundalini. You come to that state of unconsciousness in meditation. You come to the state that you are Kundalini. And that you feel your life force throughout the whole body. So then therefore you can clearly walk down to the base of the spine and bring this state of consciousness, you, up Shushun. You can enter those doors just like that. Because you, in meditation, you realize that you are Kundalini. And you are the soul, in other words. You are the soul. And you wish to move back into the house of the soul, which is Sushumna and the chakras. So there's no mystery at that point in the state of meditation. You know.
And what's the process that happens when somebody messes up and they go mad or crazy? That people say you can do that with Kundalini.
They just messed up. That's all.
How do you mess up? Like you raise Kundalini up a nadi you shouldn't have?
Well, you begin to move it when you wasn't truly conscious of everything. You wasn't ready to move it, in other words. And you make a mistake. As simple as that. You know, it's just like you get up on a trampoline and you know you haven't practiced enough. And you go trying to do that wild flip to impress somebody. And you fall on your behind, you made a mistake because you wasn't ready. You know when you're ready. You'll know. You'll know. So it's through education and practice, and education and practice. That's what takes you there. You know. So even at that level, you can make mistakes. Don't think you can't make mistakes. But you know when it's time to, when it's time to take that leap.
How do you practice raising Kundalini?
Practice. What are you doing the deep breathing for?
Because I was preparing to raise Kundalini.
That's right. That's what you're doing. You're preparing to raise Kundalini. And the more you do those practices, the more you become aware of yourself and your body.
Okay. I thought you just got one shot at it, and if you mess up, you're dead.
The first time you raise Kundalini, you only raise a part of Kundalini. And then little by little, you'll learn to gain, to get a little bit more of it, a little bit more of it, a little bit more of it, until you get to the point where you can move all of it. But it may take one life, or it may take 100 lives. But eventually you'll get there. But it's not one shot and you're dead, no. Like I said, things are very slow. Things in nature works very, very slow. That's how you know you're on the right move. Someone tell you that you can have it all in a short space of time, run like hell away from that person. Because things don't happen like that.
So where is it in meditation where you get that terrible loneliness? You feel like you're the only being in existence.
In the beginning. It's a horrible feeling.
Is it because you're connected to everything, or you feel like you're not connected to everything? I'm confused about that.
It's both. You can feel, you can slightly feel your connection, but you'll also feel the limitation of this body and all the bodies. And then you realize that there's only one life. And there's only an illusion of many lives. But everyone else is just totally unaware that they are part of you and everything else. And that's where the loneliness comes in at. that you know and they don't know. So that's the, it's a horrible state, and yet it's a beautiful state at the same time. Yeah.
In this handout, it mentions the sabda body or sound body.
Mm-hmm.
It says that it contains the chakras, the petals, nadis system, Kundalini. So how would that body relate to these other bodies we were talking about, the auric, mental?
All of them work through that. All of them use the sound body. The sound body is the body of consciousness. So it's the sound body that turns on, that's the only way the other bodies operate. Without that, those bodies are just a dead robot.
So the sound body is Kundalini?
Yeah, it's an aspect of Kundalini. So the sound body brings consciousness to all. In fact, I think that's out of my book. This is actually out of my book.
But
So,
then,
so the sound body is the body that holds consciousness. You know, it is the consciousness, which is rarely talked about. Which is rarely talked about in the state of a sound body.
so like, where would we find the Kundalini? In the auric body, or is it also
The Kundalini is throughout all the bodies.
all of them?
But a concentration of the Kundalini is at the base chakra, at the 3.5 knot. That's where 90 to 98% of the Kundalini is. It goes into a dormant sleep until you wake it up, and that's at the base chakra. But the 42,000, the 42,000 nadis have this Kundalini traveling through it and around it. Okay, so that's and that's that 2 to 5% of the Kundalini that's in the body. It travels through that 42,000, pathways of the nadis.
If we were to perceive this psychically, where would we look at which of these levels, or
What do you mean, perceive what?
the nadi system, for example? Is it something that exists in the etheric body, or is it something that is throughout?
Yes, it's in the etheric body mostly. It's in the auric envelope and the etheric body. But all the other bodies uses it in order to transport consciousness. And even the physical body creates physical counterparts of it, right?
Nervous system.
Of the nervous system. The nervous system, the respiratory system, the blood system, the vein system. All of that is carbon copies of the nodic system.
Of the
Okay.
meridian system used in acupuncture.
Same thing. The meridian system is nothing but the nadis. It's only the nadis. So all the bodies, even your astral bodies, the astral bodies have a nodic system, have some type of system that resembles the nodic system. So it's the same way the Absolute spoke the word and creation came. The Spirit spoke the word and the soul came. The soul spoke the word, and what happened? Man came. all creation came. The animals came. It's always a spoken word that brought forth the manifestation of something, right? So that spoken word is the sada body, the sound body, right? It gives consciousness, all right? So that's what that is. So in all things, it has this matrix of sound that holds cellular structure in a state of vibration to produce what we call consciousness.
So is the soul a lord of creation?
the soul is a Lord. You know, well, I don't like using words like that because you're different and you confuse people. But the soul becomes the devata. You know, proper soul management creates the devata. Now, in a more advanced class that I will not scream over, I could go into those things for you.
Okay.
But people have to come here and listen. And then if we record it, we can't give it out until those people become a member and a regular, whatever. But I can go into, because there's a whole nother advanced part to this. But we're not allowed to give it out just randomly. All right. But that's a whole different thing. Through proper soul management, the soul becomes the devata. And the devata is a creator. A cosmic being is a creator. So that's the difference.
Physically speaking, the scientists have said that 90% of our DNA is inactive.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like a reflection of Kundalini?
That's a reflection of Kundalini.
That's the physical reflection of Kundalini?
Huh?
That's like a physical reflection of DNA, per se?
Yeah, it is. It is. The same way your spermatozoids, 90% of it is what? Is inactive, right? Is weak. Only a certain percentage of it reach the zygote. The spermatozoid is a concentrated form of Kundalini that's released from the body. That's why you are asked to control it.
And there's other aspects, like DNA would be one. Is there any other?
What, parts of it?
Mm-hmm.
It's all types of, we can go
The
through
brain
it.
is not,
Huh?
right? We only use 10% of the brain. So
Yeah, same thing, 10% of the brain. Really, we don't use 10%. I refuse to believe that. I believe what the old scientists said. In fact, some of the new scientists are saying it too, that we only use 2 to 5% of our brain.
I've heard
I mean,
that.
how do they get a percentage going if they don't even know the totality? Where's
Yeah.
that percentage from?
Yeah.
We're just guessing. Question about the higher self. When we talk about the higher self, is it something that is individuated and belongs to each individual? Like each one has a higher self, or is there one all-encompassing higher self?
No, each one of us have a higher self. Before you begin to, and I'm going to do a class on soulmates, so you can kind of understand. There's a such thing as a soulmate, and it does exist. So, but yes, each one of us has a higher self.
So it's a function of the soul? Is it a function of the soul?
Yeah. This is the basic class, and this is a very basic class because the higher classes, it becomes very, very good. Well, to most people, it becomes complicated if you haven't really studied this. And this is nothing new, but it's written down, but you can't see it until you understand the basic teachings. It's been written down for thousands of years, but it's written in code so that most people can't understand it until it's time for them to understand.
It's like that medical symbol, caduceus, is just the same diagram.
It's the same, yeah.
Nadi system.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's the nadi and the chakras and the kundalini and the sushumna, it's all there. But you can't see it unless someone tell you.
Right. You can even find it in the Egyptian hieroglyphs.
Yeah, it's there.
One last question. Well, I have I spent 5 hours transcribing the tape. I only got side 1 done because it's a lot. But there's one question that really, really, really bothered me. I couldn't figure it out. I wrote it down. He says, as a matter of fact, 1 + 1 must equal 4, neither can it equal 3 because we can't possibly have one of anything in this world. How can we have one of anything The only thing that we can have one in, one of is one spirit. That's all. It's true to say that there is only one real person living on this earth. It's true also to say that there is not one person living on this earth, but there is one earth in the whole macrocosmic system and one inhabitant on that one earth if we take this spirit into consideration. I'm lost.
Is that the logos?
No, it's not. I'm lost with that one.
That's what I said. That's the higher. Maybe I shouldn't have gave you that tape.
Everything else I was following up, but he said, but we'll just deal with. After that, he left it on and said, but we'll just deal with material things. Like he just said it and I said, well let's go back to what we're talking about. That I was stuck on that for a good 20 minutes.
It's simple to understand, but I don't know if I can explain it to you.
Okay.
But it's simple to understand. Why can't you understand it?
Doesn't make sense. Like it says there's one, and then there's not one.
What is spirit?
Unmanifested.
What is spirit?
Spark of God.
What is spirit?
The absolute.
Absolute.
So that's the one. But that's not one.
Well, if there's only
Because
one,
it's-
there's nothing.
Because it is and it's nothing at the same time.
It can only be one if there's more than one. It's a concept. It's a concept.
That's it.
So where does the one earth come from?
Still, what is spirit?
Everything and nothing.
So the spirit is the one inhabitant on the one earth?
Yeah. And the earth is a spirit. Everything else is that. So when you look at that, it's the one spirit on earth at the same time. It's the one spirit in the solar system. At the same time, it's the one spirit in the galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, it's the one spirit in the universe. There's only one.
So what's the point of involution?
There's only one. I just told you the point of involution.
Okay.
The spirit, being the absolute,
Mm-hmm.
created the soul in order to experience evolution itself. So it did it many times, but it's still, the spirit is the spirit.
Mm-hmm.
One reason why the spirit can't be manifested because it is what?
It's one.
What is it? One. The who?
Absolute.
The absolute. Can you separate the absolute?
Yeah.
Absolute is. And each Bible, whether it was the Torah or the Holy Bible or the Buddhist Bible or the Hindu Bible or the Zoroastrian Bible or the Zen Buddhist Bible, they always say God is, which is so profound. And there's nothing else but God.
Mm-hmm. And that's the reality.
That's the reality.
Everything else below that is
It's mine.
mind.
Illusion.
It's an illusion. It's a total illusion. Right now, we can all shut the lights off and we can create a whole world of our own. Now, the people in that world, they will live a whole life in that 5 minutes. After that 5 minutes, they become what?
Energy.
Huh?
Energy or nothing.
No, they become you again. Because they always were you. Because you created it. And it didn't go anywhere. It stayed with you. But they had the illusion that they went somewhere. It's as simple as that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we're made in the image of God. So as God created all of us in its so-called mind, and we live our, 100 billion years in his 1 second, or its 1 second, the same way your imaginary world will live their 100 billion years in your few seconds or few minutes. And that's what he was saying right there in such small words.
Mm.
So there's only one spirit. Spirit is the absolute. But see, we have to create these terms in order for us to begin to understand the higher truths. You understand? That's why I was saying that understanding becomes belief. But when you get to the belief, you have to throw away all the understanding. Then when you take the belief through experience, you have to throw away the belief, because you gain what? Knowledge. Right? Then you go through the knowledge through experience, you have to throw away all the knowledge in order to get to what? Wisdom.
And according to Blavatsky, there's something even after wisdom, right?
Huh?
According to Blavatsky, there's the whole learning, the whole knowledge, the whole wisdom, and then furthermore.
It's probably, it's furthermore, but in my case, I'm just saying wisdom, because in wisdom, you become part of that, what you are doing. You become totally aware in the state of wisdom. But there's many, many levels to wisdom, So you have to, but you have to be brave enough to throw away. And that's why Dr. King talked about bravery. At each point, you have to be brave enough to throw away all that you have come to know.
Reminds me of something that Lao Tse said, I think it was him, that you really haven't learned something until you forget where you learned it.
So at the brink of you moving forward and higher and greater, you have to come to the thing and say, listen, I looked at all of this wrong, I handled all of this wrong. In order for me to go forward, I have to give it up. Because your experience takes you to a whole different level. And that's like similar, not totally like, but when you look at Socrates and then Plato, right? Socrates came first, right? But now Plato was the student of Socrates. But when Plato came on the scene, it seemed like he was doing everything different the way Socrates was doing it, right?
And his students did the same thing.
And then his students was Aristotle, right?
Aristotle.
And then Aristotle did something totally different from Plato and Socrates. So because why? Because their experience took them to a different place, and they had to give up what had shaped and molded them to be the person that they were. They had to give it up in order to go to a different level. And at that particular moment in time, their knowledge, their understanding, their wisdom served them well based on their experience. So that's what I'm saying, that you come to a higher understanding as you move forward.
Someone asked about chaos. Which one came first, order or chaos?
What?
Order or chaos, which came first?
Order came and order is still here. It's only the illusion of chaos. If they can deal with that, that's what it is.
There's people who talk about bodies being born without souls, but after you explain this whole idea that the soul is what creates the body, that activates it, then it seems like that is totally meaningless, right? These people
That's
are,
ridiculous.
it's ridiculous, right?
Yeah. The chair that you are sitting in has a soul. It has a soul. It's a living, breathing entity, and you should treat it as such. That's the great beauty of the Buddhists, which a lot of Christians call them savages. But in so many ways, they are eons above a lot of the Christians. You know. So.
Ernie asked, what does the saying "I am" mean?
I am is a spirit. Simple as that. Remember, the spirit is the absolute. Remember Moses? Remember the burning bush? When Moses said, "Who shall I say sent me?"
I am that I am.
I am that I am. You know, I am the God that is the I am within you. So I am is God or spirit that's within man. But it's all spirit. So that's what he was saying. And the I is the soul. The I am is the spirit and the I is the soul. Anything else? We kind of close out. It's almost 2:30.
That's 7. Yeah, like if someone's on something. That counts as a 6. I'm just gonna ask the last minute question. Do you wanna answer or do I answer?
What is it?
So when the woman touched Jesus' coat, was it his aura that healed her?
When what you say?
When the woman who reached out touched Jesus' cloak and he asked who touched me and she was healed, she asked, was it his aura that healed her?
It could have been his aura. But do you remember, they are fully, a master like Jesus is totally aware of his total being. So she didn't necessarily have to touch him to be healed.